Should you stop paying your rent or mortgage during the coronavirus crisis? We are in one of the most unique times in human history with a global pandemic that has shut down society and part of the economy. And governments throughout the world and in America, I live in America, they have made exceptions for people in society because times are so extreme. They just started depositing $1,200 stimulus checks to keep the economy going, which will allow people to be able to buy basic stuff. And they've also made some exceptions for people to freeze their mortgages or rents. I don't know all the details, but I want to talk about in this video, should you stop paying your bills during the coronavirus crisis? There's been times in my life where I was heavily in debt, I didn't pay my bills, and I had bill collectors calling me. And there was no crisis. There was no coronavirus crisis. I was just in my own personal crisis. And in the beginning, I did not handle it right. I did not take the bill collector's calls. I just put my head in the sand and I let my debt build up. It destroyed my credit and took years to rebuild. So your decisions have consequences even in a crisis. And your decisions will affect you in the future, no one else. So just remember, your decisions will affect you in the future. So let's address the question. Number one is, if you don't have the money, you've tried, you've worked, you checked your savings, your piggy bank, you checked if you have coins under your seat. You've tried everything and you're working or you're doing what you can do. Maybe you can't work because of the crisis, depending on your job industry, or maybe you are a senior, maybe you are disabled or something like that. So whatever your personal individual circumstance, you have to honestly evaluate your life. If you've done everything you could possibly do to either get an income or evaluate your income, and you are looking at your funds and you honestly don't have the money to pay your bills, then no, I would not pay my bills after. It's in the priority of order. Okay, so number one is you have to have enough money to feed yourself, to keep your lights on in your house, to pay your electric bill. And then you kind of go from there, food, utility bills, rent, mortgage, and then you just work your way down. But the top priorities are your food, your utility bills, and your rent or mortgage, because eating, drinking, and shelter are our primary source of survival. And obviously cut back on the food if you can, without obviously depriving yourself of nutrition. But if you've done things in order and you're looking at things, you say, I can't afford rent or I can't afford your mortgage, then you need to call, communicate, and document that you have communicated to your mortgage, your landlord, or your credit card, whatever bill you're either not going to pay in full or you're going to partially pay. Communicate and document to them as soon as you honestly know you can't afford it. Because one of the mistakes I made when I was burying myself in debt in my younger years was, like I say, I stuck my head in the sand and I just didn't call people and tell them I was going to be late or not going to be able to pay. And my credit cards and things just built up, and I got a lien on my house at one time. So call, communicate, and document. Most people, especially if you do it early and you're honest, they'll work with you and try to make partial payments. If you can't afford your whole rent, can you afford half of it? Give half now, and then maybe give the other half in a couple weeks when you can afford the rest. I know someone recently during the coronavirus, they called their landlord almost immediately because their hours had got cut back at their job. And they said, look, I'm still going to pay my rent, but I can't pay the full thing this month because my hours got cut back. I'll pay half now and I'll pay half in 2 weeks from now. And so then you build up good faith, and you may not even damage your credit. Because after the coronavirus ends, whether it's in 2 weeks or 2 years, you are going to be affected by your decisions. You're going to hurt your credit. You're going to hurt your relationship with your landlord or your mortgage company or your credit card company, whatever. And that stays with you for years. Believe me, I went through it. And it's going to hurt you for years. And look, right now, yeah, technically, I don't think they are doing evictions. They're not doing foreclosures. But when the country reopens, guys, they will get their money back with interest or take your stuff. So don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. However, look, we're in a crisis. There's some people out of work or, again, there's some people that are in an extreme circumstance and they need help. You should get help. Corporations are getting help, so should you. But you should communicate and document. Communicate and document. And pay what you can. And if you can't pay anything, don't pay anything, but communicate and document. So that's kind of like what I would say in general speaking terms during the coronavirus crisis and during any crisis in your life. From my past failures, I've learned that you got to look at your finances. You got to know what's going on. And it took me years to be willing to do it. So I understand the mindset of like, I just got enough to do this and that's all I'm going to do. Try to figure out your budget. How much do you normally make before the coronavirus? Can you say, all right, every month before the coronavirus, I made $2,000 a month. Now, what do you make? Maybe you make $1,000 a month, whatever it is for you. And then evaluate, all right, based on this $1,000 a month I make, what can I pay and what can I? Let me make sure that I eat, but, I don't eat like a lot of stuff. And, then let me pay my utility bills, my rent, my mortgage, and then go from there. And then, you just work your way down the chain and then you communicate and document to the people you can't pay. And then you work out a program so that when the coronavirus ends, you don't have a botched mortgage or a botched rental agreement, or you don't get repossession of your car. So that's kind of like what I would tell people through my own life experience and through all experiences going forward. We all hit hard times. There's no shame in it, especially if you've done all you can. But the biggest thing that will hurt you is if you just don't communicate and document. And that if you don't put an honest effort into just like keeping people informed and paying what you can now, and you reaching out to them rather than them reaching out to you. You reach out to them rather than them reaching out to you. That's the key. You have to take hold and charge of your life so that later on someone else doesn't take hold and charge of your life. So, love to you. All the best to you. Also want to thank my viewer Apathy. She was on my live feed last night. Every night on this YouTube channel, I go live around 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. And I take live comments from my people watching. And Apathy, a good longtime viewer, she had asked me, she had recently bought a house and she was struggling with the mortgage payment. And so she asked me what I would do. And, we talked about last night very similar things, but I wanted to expand on it a little bit more. And I respect her and I thank her for inspiring me. And I know she'll do well because she's a positive person. And so thank you to all my viewers who are positive and doing the best they can. Appreciate you. Thanks, guys, for watching. Click that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. Check out my playlist on my Patreon. Leave a comment below if you have life experience in being behind bills or struggling, what you did, what you learned, and what you would share with someone else. All right? Peace and love. Stay as positive as you can.